we get into the discussion, I think that it's important for us to first and formally, address what is TVET. Let's help persons out there who are listening and who are watching to understand what exactly is the TVET program.
TVET, as is acronym, it means Technical and Vocational Education and Training. TVET. Now, some countries will use the acronym VET, VET.
Yeah.
And when someone hears the word VET, they're thinking somebody that is taking care of the animals and all these kind of a thing.
Correct.
But
Yeah.
VET in some parts of the world, for example, Singapore, Malaysia, India by extension, they will use VET as a similar word for TVET, which means Vocational Education and Training. So TVET for our listeners, very importantly, means Technical and Vocational Education and Training. And so TVET primarily or basically means all the skills-related programs that one can be exposed to. So, for example, in our school system, our secondary schools, we have an array of technical education programs that are offered. For example, in the industrial technology, we have furniture making, we have masonry, we have plumbing, we have electrical installation, we have technical drawing. In the commercial food preparation, they will call it home economics, we have commercial food preparation, catering, fabric decoration. And so there are a whole host of programs that are skills-related programs, and all of those programs falls under the purview of technical and vocational education and training. So there is skill-based training that will ensure that one, after completing the program, they are deemed competent. They're skillful in performing the task related to that program. For example, Mason, when you have gone through the program and you have satisfied the requirements, it means that you're now competent in that skill as a Mason. So you can go out there and earn. So all of those encircles technical and vocational education and training.
I want to thank you very much for clarifying that, because as we know, we have a tendency, or we've grown up in a society whereby persons would have promoted and would have encouraged more persons to be lawyers and doctors and, to just be the conventional workers that we have in society. And so with that being said, with you explaining all of that now and, opening the door for persons to understand all the possibility within the TVET, I want to ask you, why is it important, or why would we encourage someone to be a part of the TVET program, and how useful is it to one's life?
All right. And that's a very, very important question again. Now, as I mentioned earlier, technical education is all about skills training. Education and training. So you have the theoretical understanding, as well as you will be exposed to the practical hands-on.
Correct.
So you have more of practical engagement comparatively to the theoretical. So it's like a 70 to 30%. You have 70 practical, 30% engagement. So technical education, as you asked just now, it prepares a cohort of skilled, certified, competent people to make a contribution to their society, to their community, to their country. And so, for example, given our current situation, for example, in the emerging oil and gas sector and beyond, our traditional sectors, we have agriculture, we have construction, we have business and commerce, we have hospitality and tourism. And so all those are areas that requires skilled people who are certified and who are competent and who possesses the requisite knowledge and attitude to make that meaningful contribution towards ensuring that our society can move from one stage to another. And so technical education, the benefits of technical education, it means that it creates employment for people. Once you have a skill, it means that you will get a job. If you're a mason, and we know the reality is today, a mason earns close to $15,000. Right? A person in the construction field earns close to $15,000. And so because they were deemed competent, they're qualified in their trade, And so they have their certification as well, and they go out there and they make that contribution in one, creating employment for themselves, ensuring that they can support their society, their community, and by extension, their country. And more so, it adds to the socio-economic landscape of our country. Now, with the Ministry of Education, we say skill is wealth.
Yeah.
So someone who possesses the right skill, of course, they will do well in an emerging society, for example, or a local context here.
Yeah.
The Honorable Minister herself mentioned that TVET can save us. So the intention is that once one can get into a TVET-related program, as I mentioned, of course, they can exit with that skill and they can make that contribution. One, employment, make a significant contribution to their society. They can have an upward mobility, growth and development, and more so, they're adding to the socio-economic landscape of their country.
I think we definitely have a clearer understanding of the TVET, or what is the TVET program, and why it's important that we should sign up. And I'm happy that you made mention of training.
Yeah.
And since we're talking about training, let's get into a little bit more of the budget side of things. So as we know, we would have recently seen that, or we would have recently heard from most of us who didn't look at the budget reading that Guyana recorded its largest budget ever in history of a total of $1.146 trillion. That is the total budget. Now, of that 1.146, $135.2 billion was awarded to the education sector. Now, outside of that, well, within that actually, 2.3 of it was awarded to the TVET department.
Yes.
Now, of that $2.3 billion, we were made to understand that 500 million from it would be going towards training.
Yeah.
So can you expound for us and let us understand exactly what the 500 million for training will do exactly, and what sort of training and training for who will this money being used to fund?
Excellent. And so I'm happy that you pulled that question into this discussion. It's a very important question as well. As I said earlier, TVET is on the move. We have seen over the years, recent times, over the past 2 to 3 years, we have seen incremental changes as it relates to persons moving in the direction of technical and vocational education and training, acquiring a skill. And so technical education, it's not an easy business. It requires heavy financing. And of course, the government of Guyana, realizing what are the potentialities of Guyana, and of course the Ministry of Education recognizing its roles and responsibilities as well, is working in that direction in ensuring that we can train a cohort of persons who are competent and skillful to make that tangible contribution to whatever might be happening in their space. So that $500 million that we are seeing for training, it means therefore that one, we have to train our TVET teachers in the school system to understand the delivery of the changes, the amendments of the CXC curriculum. Probably at another program, we'll talk more about the CVQs, because Guyana is now moving in the direction of issuing Caribbean vocational qualification, level 1, to our students in the secondary schools. And as I said, at the next program, we'll discuss that at length for our populace to have an understanding. So training there will be focused on our teachers, ensuring that they understand the newness of the curriculum, and they are prepared to deliver what those curriculum are asking of them. So there are changes in the building and the furniture technology curriculum. There are changes in the technical drawing curriculum. There are changes in the mechanical engineering technology curriculum. Likewise, the commercial food preparation, the home economics, fabric decoration. All these are TVET programs that are offered in the school system. And so those monies there are carefully, I would say, partitioned so that we can train our teachers. Two, we ensure that the resources that are required for training. So the Ministry of Education, by extension, the government is moving in the direction that we ease the burden on our parents and our students. So for example, one will have to build, let's say, a table for a project in the furniture making. Now, the Ministry of Education, through its budgetary allocation, is ensuring that our students are exposed to the financing to purchase the wood and the metal and the paint and all the other things that are required of them, so that they don't have to put their hands in their pockets to offset those expenses. So training is massive because, as I said, continuously people needs to be updated, but central is our teachers, training them to understand the new delivery engagement, ensuring that we have more teachers in the system being trained to deliver the TVET programs. And so the CPC, as we all know, recently would have graduated over 3,000 people. And so we find more persons are opting into CPC to do more of the TVET-related training, because it's a specific training one will require if you're trained to teach, let's say, technical drawing or mechanical engineering. And so the CPC does that. So all in all, that 500 million focuses directly on ensuring our students there is equity in terms of them not going into their pockets to have monies to pay for projects and home, but it's financed there. Procurement and purchasing of tools and the equipment, right? Procurement of tools and equipment to conduct those training. And of course, in the capital side, you will have monies there to purchase tools and equipment, but the small tools that might be required, materials, training of teachers, that is the central focus of this 500,000. And I just want to clear the air a little bit since I'm having this space. I know that there is a traction now as it relates to the mindset change when it comes to technical and vocational education and training. People are now gravitating towards a position of recognizing the importance of technical education. And so people are now making their social media postings because they're concerned. They're seeing the impact of technical education in the country. And so I want to clear the air for us to understand that we should not mix up the VET as being vet, someone who takes care of the animals and so forth, as it relates to the person that is doing a skill-related program, which is technical and vocational education and training, right? And so the monies that we are seeing going in for TVET is to ensure that we move the agenda and we provide the opportunities for every single child to access a skill. In the ministry strategic plan, it is carefully articulated that every child that exits the school system should exit with a duality of certification. One, they exit with a CXC qualification. And secondly, they exit with a skill certificate. That is that they can go out there, they can get onto a job, they can earn from the job, they can use the certificate, they can get into the GTI, they can get into the ETI, they can get into the Essequibo Technical Institute, the New Amsterdam Technical Institute, the Lenore Technical Institute, the Maikoni Technical Institute, and they can do a program. There is a mobility, right? So training is important in this regard.
Definitely. I think you would have done a good job at making that distinctively clear for us to understand exactly what that money would be used for and the sort of training that it will provide. And I must commend the Ministry of Education for that move. I believe that it's a wonderful move in ensuring that each child graduates with not just an academic certificate, but a technical certificate that can help them to gain training and job, as you would have mentioned. As we bring this interview or this meeting, this session to an end, I want to say, can you tell us, because we would have addressed what is the TVET program, we would have addressed the benefits of being a part of it and so forth. And I'm sure that we have persons online who are listening to us who may be wondering, how can I be a part of this program? How can I sign up to be a part of the TVET program? So I'll give you the opportunity to explain that for us.
All right, thank you. And I think that is important as well. Now, technical education, as the minister would have mentioned, we are moving in the direction of ensuring that every single child, regardless of your location, even if you're in the hinterland or the deep riverine area, or you're in the coastal, you must have that equal access to technical education. So we are moving in the direction of bridging that gap to ensure that our people in the hinterland, regions 1, 7, 8, and 9, can have the equal access as the people who are on the coastal plain. So TVET is simple. It's easy for anyone to gain an entry or an admission into a TVET program. Now, it starts all the way from your secondary school. So one gets into a secondary school at the level of the grade 9 or Form 3 as we know it. They will have the streaming that will happen, and people will opt for the industrial technology or the technology stream.
Correct.
And so right there, you're positioning yourself to gain an entry into, let's say, a post-secondary institution after you have completed your program.
Right.
Now, that is one avenue of one gaining an easy access. As we speak in our school system, we have what we call the SCCP program.
Correct.
That is a secondary competency certificate program.
Yeah.
And that program, it's a competency-based education and training program as well. The modus of the engagement utilizes the CBET methodology. And so the child gains an entry or an access to the SCCP program at the grade 9 level. That's Form 3.
Yeah.
So you get into the grade 9, you do the SCCP program, you complete it successfully at the grade 9, you're issued with a certificate at the end of that program. So if you have done something in plumbing, masonry, furniture making, electrical installation, catering, crop production, whatever you would have done there as your occupational program or your skill program, then you move on to grade 10, which is Form 4.
Yeah.
And you will do the advanced SCCP program. So at the end of that grade 10, the pathway is so clear, or the mobility, I should say, it's so clear that the child, if so desire, can exit at the grade 10 and gain an entry into one of the technical institutes.
Okay.
Because the system would have been established that, let's say for whatever reason, the child can't go on to fifth form.
Yeah.
But the child fall out at grade 10. But the child would have completed the SCCP program successfully. The child now can use that SCCP certificate and they can apply to GTI, the Government Technical Institute, and any other of the technical institutes in this country. We have 10 of them.
Yeah.
And they will gain an admission to do a skill program of their choice.
Nice.
Right? They can do it using the SCCP engagement. Now, if a child decides to continue to grade 11, the child completes grade 9, he or she receives the grade 9 certificate, completes the grade 10, receives the advanced certificate, go on to grade 11, and complete the CXC programs. So the child automatically leaves with the skill certificate at grade 10 and
the
at
academic.
CXC at grade 11.
Yeah.
The child can use anyone and gain an entry now into a post-secondary institution. Now, if the child has good grades at CXC and wants to move directly to the University of Guyana, the child can move into University of Guyana and complete a program in engineering, what have you, based on the subjects. But the pathway is clear, as I said. And every single or any single person can gain an entry. Now, as I said, in the next program, we'll talk about CVQs. Now, there is not even any requirement for anyone to do a CVQ program, which is a skill program.
Yeah.
Once you can show some evidence that you have attended secondary school, you have gone probably up to grade 8 or grade 9, and you have your report card, or you can get some statement to say, yes, this child attended secondary school, whatever reason the child dropped out of school, the child can gain an entry into the technical institute and admit himself or herself for one of the TVET-related programs. So it's simple like that.
Yeah, it seems
Right?
really, really simple.
Simple like that.
Would there or are there any provisions for persons who probably would have already left school and they, well, we know that you said if the person dropped out of school, they can, but are there any provisions for those persons who have already completed school to like be a part of the program?
Yes. So once you would have completed your program successfully at your secondary school, and you applied to the post-secondary institution, being it a GTI or wherever you might be located, of course, you have your qualification there in terms of your certification. You just indicate which one of the programs you will like to do.
Okay.
And then you apply and you do a program. Of course, you will be subjected to an interview.
Right.
They will take you through what we call a test.
Yeah.
and ensure you understand the basics of that skill program. And once you're successful at that, then you move straight into your program.
Straight into the
Now,
program.
the post-secondary institutions, they have a system as well. Once you come in and you don't even have the subject, let's say you want to do civil engineering,
Right.
but you don't have physics and chemistry, they have a system in place where they will expose the students to a short duration of exposure to physics and chemistry. And once they would have completed that short program, they now gain an entry into doing civil engineering or mechanical or furniture making or electrical installation or refrigeration or whatever the case might be. So the system is very simple for anyone to
Yeah.
have access to a skill training program at any one of our post-secondary institutions.
Well, Dr. Tularam, I must tell you that this was definitely a very insightful conversation, and I want to encourage, our faithful listeners. If you or someone that you know are listening at home, and you're interested in being a part of the TVET program, I want to encourage you to get up and go and get registered today, because the program holds so much in store for you. To be a part, to be able to provide employment for yourself, and to give back to your country. But Dr. Tularam, just before you leave, I want to give you the opportunity to leave a word of encouragement or an encouraging message with our faithful listeners.
All right, thank you so much. Indeed, I want to urge our listeners, and I want to make this very clear as well. This will not be the first or the last program talking TVET. As we know, we have coined a phrase, TVET is on the move.
Yeah.
And the minister, in her words, TVET can save us. And we say skill as well to the Ministry of Education. And so I want to encourage our wider population that this is the opportune time to acquire a skill, to be a part of this TVET movement, and of course, to be a part of the developments that are happening in Guyana in the various sectors, to earn a skill and to be employed, to be certified, to make a contribution to your society. It can only happen through skills training.
Yeah.
And that is why TVET is here to ensure we provide that equal and equitable opportunity to every single Guyanese, regardless of where you are residing.
Skill is wealth. TVET can save us. Dr. Tularam, I want to thank you very much for joining me. And I want to wish you and your team all the best as you continue to, lead and have this transformation in the TVET program all across Guyana. So all the best, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, my brother.